All right, what's up, everybody? We're going to look at Bitcoin and a couple other things really quick, seeing how internet's been bugged for a little while now. So let's go ahead and just put out a recording. This way you guys can get at least something, and I'll try to put out more recordings. All right, so first things first, Bitcoin has pulled back for the last 2 weeks now. It's not been a vicious pullback, as you can see here on the daily time frame. It traded right down here to daily support, bounced, got a nice pullback in there, but has since fell back down. Currently, right now, what it's looking like on Saturday is this 4 hour supply right here, maybe actually holding Bitcoin from breaking out and moving higher. But in order for me to potentially look for any bullish entries to say hey, this is a higher low than this low here, I definitely need to see this high get taken out. And then I could potentially look to buy a support zone anywhere between $65,000 and $68,000 if Bitcoin were to do that. Basically, what I'm talking about is it needs to jump up above that high and then come in here and anywhere in here create that higher low. And then we can look to be a buyer of support potentially. All right. Now, if this 4 hour supply zone holds, then there is an opportunity for a near-term short. Now, here's the thing. Bitcoin pretty much led all year long, right? With its ascent and with the descent. You're getting a pullback before you getting a pullback on anything else. And Bitcoin has pretty much led risk. Now, the S&P 500, if we go over here to the daily time frame, you're going to see last week was a magnificent breakout above the weekly expected range high. I mean, this was on the Fed day, but it wasn't done with heavy volume. It was with really light volume. So the last 2 days, Thursday and Friday, you gapped up on Thursday and you just pulled back a little bit, and you pulled back a little bit on Friday. Not much of a pullback here, especially after the breakout. Well, basically, since Bitcoin has already pulled back, I'm looking for the S&P 500 to do so as well. The problem is indeed going to be Nvidia. We'll talk about Nvidia briefly here in a minute, but first let me just go ahead and say this. The S&P 500 expected move for next week isn't as big. Your top side is going to be 52.88. It's going to be a $54 expected move. $54. So top side 52.88, bottom side 51.80. They don't always hold price, but it does a really good job of keeping price held. Like, for instance, you could have sold a put there. You could have sold a put here. Yeah, sold a put there, right? But selling calls hasn't been working out. As you can see, it's been breaking out to the upside. But since Bitcoin has pulled back some, I was hoping that risk assets would pull back as well. And we will see if that's going to happen. Next week is a 4-day trading week for stock markets. And Forex will be a 5-day, but it's a 4-day trading week basically for the stock market, because Good Friday is next Friday. And then Monday will be Easter. So, yeah. Friday next week will be closed, and then the week after that, Monday will be closed. So we're going to have 2 weeks back to back of 4 trading days. Hence the small $53 it's $54 rounded up. It's 53.92. All right, moving on. Nvidia has literally been propping the market up. If we go into the weekly, you can see here how it closed on Friday, but going into the weekly, this thing has not closed a red week at all this whole entire year. There's literally just a couple days to go for the quarter, 5 days, 2 hours before we close out the first quarter of Q1 2024. And you can see just what a massive candle that is. So basically, this thing has not had a red week close since since 2024 started. All right, that's 10 straight weeks in a row without a pullback. Now, one could argue that this week here was a pullback because it does look like it got really close to taking out that low there. Let me see if it did. Here, let's just hover over it and see. 663, perfect. 66248. Yeah. All right, so we did take out this low here. So one could argue that this was a pullback and it was just bought into very rapidly. But you can see here, it closed last week on the highs. Very strong. This thing is just, people are buying it for whatever reason. They just keep buying, buying, buying. So it doesn't matter how overbought these things get. It's like overbought markets are just insane right now. We do got a lot of bearish divergence going on here from this point to this point, but I mean, yeah, it would be nice to see it actually play out and see us get a very big pullback. But this is the highest daily close of all time. So it's going to be your high day close. And then this is your high week close of all time for Nvidia. So Nvidia is literally propping the marketplace up. And I think we need Nvidia to kind of have that pullback before we're actually going to see a pullback on the S&P 500, which I desperately would love to see. It could be an opportunity for looking to sell some calls, and calls are good to sell when the skew is high. If we go look at the skew real quick, it's best to look at this on a line chart. You can see we're high. Anything above 130 is high. Whenever the skew is high like this, that means the premium on calls is expensive. So that means people are still literally buying calls, and it gives call selling a little bit more of an edge. But as long as markets are trending higher, obviously you don't want to be a call seller. You're going to lose money. So we need a pullback in order to be a call seller. We're just not getting it. VIX finally did make a new low right there. It took out that low. However, for the last several weeks since you put in this low in December, you've almost made a higher low almost every single week, right? Almost, right? There's been a couple weeks that were outliers that you actually made new lows, but this candle here pretty much solidified the lows, but still not a fresh all-time low, which one would expect since the market is trading at all-time highs. So there's still a lot of call buying happening in the VIX because the VIX calls are still super expensive. And you can see before we had the pandemic back here in 2017, 2018, we got it as low as $8 on the VIX. So I don't think you're ever going to see that again, but who knows, right? Who knows? You can see you're also tangling with Friday's open as well. So yeah, you definitely need to see that higher high, at least on the 4 hour. We need to take out this, make a higher high, so that way at least you have a higher low, higher high. Then we could begin to look for that lower high support. All right, hopefully this helps you guys for the week to come. Dollar is rallying with stocks, so that's weird. Usually when the dollar rallies, you would see that pullback in stocks, just because the dollar is getting more expensive, right? So the fact that the dollar is getting more expensive should naturally pull the stock market down a little bit. However, it's not doing that. We'll see if this can continue. But here lately, for the last, all week almost, there was one red day in there. One big red day. That was the Fed day. That's the day the stock market got super bullish. But look at the size of this bullish candle and then Friday's bullish candle. You think that would ultimately make the market roll over pretty hard? We got two very subtle small days. I was expecting it to trade at least back to the top edge of the expected move. We didn't get that move. So moving on into next week, next higher expected range, once again, 52.88. And that's what we're aiming for, unfortunately, until this thing starts to roll over and gives us that opportunity to maybe buy some puts or something. Until then, it's really difficult to buy things that are at all-time highs, especially when they are super extended. As far as buying breakout trades, I do like to buy breakout trades sometimes at all-time highs, if in fact they can maintain that push. Not a lot of things here, that are at all-time highs. I think this one is right here, Duolingo. But we were unable to get that close above, and we got a rejection and rolled over. So we need a close above 240.20, a daily close, before we can look to buy that. Stop loss isn't going to be so great. Buying breakouts, that's why I don't like to buy them. But if we reject it already once and then we finally ultimately get a breakout and close above, I think Duolingo could go up to $300 easily. So you're looking at from $240 to $300. This is a huge accumulation formation, and a measured move of that you can see is wide. So I'm not even doing a complete measured move of that. And that is Duolingo. ticker symbol DUOL. I'm watching that one really, really close. And I was watching Capital One Financial for the breakout pullback. Unfortunately, it did break out, but it pulled back too deep. I ended up getting short on it on this day here, looking for this to be a trap. It held as support and then went right back up. And what's the other one I was looking to see if it could hold support? I was watching Palo Alto Networks, support right here. Many days it traded and tested support. I brought it up inside of the Trade Talk Discord that if this thing holds support, I'd be looking to get long. I did get long on this day right here. So it's just not moved very far yet. So I bought out of the money options. I need it to get to at least $300 to start making money. If I can get it up to $300, which is not very far. All right, this is a very fast moving stock, so you got to be very careful with it. I did a call spread. I simply just bought the April 26, 290 call, and I sold the 295. So if this stock could get up to $300, I'll be almost in max profit. And I paid $1.95 for it, which is expensive. So that means, you know, there's only $5 on the trade, and if I paid $1.90 for it, there's not going to be much more profit, and roughly around $300 would be max profit, but it would have to be up to like 340 to get max profit, and we're not doing that. We're just looking for a move up to 300. If we can get that, we can get out with a nice, clean, profitable trade there. And then obviously the AU is just a trade on gold. However, gold has been pulling back, and I don't really like it. It's pulling back kind of hard. This was a fresh all-time high, but since we're having that huge dollar strength right now, it's really putting a burden on gold to be able to get it some bullish momentum going after the fresh all-time high. So this could accumulate for a long time. It could even trade all the way back down to 2062, and I would still like it to the upside. But if we lose 2062, then I'm no longer on the side of looking for bullish gold trades. And unfortunately, there's just not a lot I got on Forex because that fake out move on the dollar, which was a bearish engulfing, ended up being a buying opportunity. So now, I mean, it looks like the dollar's trying to break out. There's your moving average structure. Still looks bearish to me, but I mean, the price action doesn't. So ultimately, if price action continues to be bullish, then I would be looking for shorts on euro and pound dollar. There you go. This trend line on pound dollar, super, super famous trend line. It is the trend line that when you look at it on log scale, you have never closed a quarterly candle above this trend line. All right, off log you have. Off log you have. So it's got to be on log. Log on, boom. Never traded above it or closed above it, I shall say. And as of right now, you're getting ready to close another quarter with the inability to close above if the dollar remains strong. And I don't see any reason why it shouldn't. So we'll see if this ultimately ends up giving us a pullback up to support. First one to watch, one spot 262.321. This is going to be this area here. And then ultimately, if we can get a push up to 127.197, we can look for entries there. All right, guys. Hopefully you guys found some kind of value out of this video, and I will start doing more of these as it doesn't take long to do them. And I'm just not going to edit it or anything. I'm just going to shoot it out there as if I was doing a live stream. So thank you guys very much for your time. Please make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart, and as always, happy trading, everybody.